I'm not going to be paying overly too much, or I'm also not going to be cheated. It helps to drive growth. So yes, we want everybody to be compliant. We don't want people to start to eye under, oh, I just want to, we don't want people to evade the tax. There are very legal way and very correct way in the tax rules that you can use to effectively manage your tax. We don't want tax evasion in any way. So we're trying to unify the code, trying to unify the burden, and of course, trying to ensure that companies that have smaller income generating capacity do not also, suffer unnecessarily. And also complex tax filing requirements were also eliminated, of course, to also improve tax management generally. So if I were to ask this question, how many of us are sure of if you know the impact of this tax regulation or this tax change on what you do today, can you raise your hands? If you can assuredly say that this is the impact of the new tax regulation on what I do today, can you just raise your hand? Can you show me who knows the impact of the tax regulation on what they do on their business? Do you know? Are you still confused, or you don't even can I just sense, can I get a sense of the level of understanding we have in the room? You can raise your hand if you understand the implication, and if you don't, you can also say no. I want the room to be very participatory. Okay, Smith says no. Can I see other answers, please? If it's a fair idea, you can also say, okay, no. Is there no yes? Do we have any yes? Please feel free to type no. Okay, all right. You don't know the impact. Okay, can I have like 2 or 3 more answers so that we can gauge the room, and then we can also know what to do? Can I have 2 or 3 more answers? If you know or you don't know the impact of the new tax regulations on what you do today, let's make it very interactive. I'll call your names. Adiola, I am God's time. Just please, I want a no or a yes. It would help so we can just gauge. I need 2 more answers before I proceed. If you don't answer me, we'll stay here. 2 more answers. No, yes, you understand the tax requirements or what you need to do, or you don't. I just want answers. Can we just type? Can we engage? Not sure 100%. Okay, I need one more person to engage. So I'm sure I'm not speaking to the hair. One more person. No. All right. Thank you. All right. So today, what I will try to do is I will ensure that I break it down as much as possible. There's one thing that I thought that was very important that I talked to you guys about today, and it is, what type of business do you run? As creative, whether you're doing fashion like people on the call said, or you are a designer, or you're doing a freelancing job, or you're a content creator, whatever it is that you belong to in the creative space, the type of business you do is very important. So do you have a registered business name, or do you have a company? And the type of company you run is very important in this new tax regime. So say, for example, you have a business name, a registered business name, you and that business is seen as one and same person. So everything that affects individuals in the tax filing affects you. If you run a company that is registered, a limited by shares, a limited company, a private company, a public company, whatever it is in the category of companies you have, then you are seen as separate from your business. That means you can be sued, or you can sue in your own name. And say, for example, there's something that happens to Adetutu Nigeria Limited. Nobody can come and pick Adetutu, because Adetutu Nigeria Limited is a company and is a brand on its own. However, if I am running Adetutu Enterprises, if anything happens to Adetutu Enterprises, they would go back and look at who exactly is running Adetutu Enterprises, and it will be me. So that's a clear difference between when you're running a business name and when you are running a limited liability company, a private company, or a company that is public. And it has implication in the new tax regime as well. So this first point that I wanted to mention is the reason why I decided to explain that first. So the first thing is, if you're a business in Nigeria whose annual turnover, so again, you wonder what is turnover. You know that income and turnover are not necessarily the same thing. So if in your business, let's say you sold, and when you charge your customers, probably for what you sold for them or whatever you do for them, you charge them a particular money and they pay it to you. That, is not the profit for the organization, but it is how the company is turning over, meaning the sales of the organization. So if your sales, which is what we use in small and medium enterprise more frequently, if your day-to-day sales is less than 100 million, and your fixed assets would be the machine you use in that business, maybe if you have a car or a bus that moves your that helps you with delivery, or if you have, I don't know how many industrial machines you may have, and any other thing that you can use for more than 1 year, one accounting year, is seen as fixed asset. If you look at everything all together, if the total value of what you have is less than 250 million, then you are seen as a small business. And I am also now talking about businesses that are registered as companies. Remember that the first thing I said is that you are doing business name, and if you have a business name, a registered business name, you're seen as an individual. So your taxation is in line with the personal income tax, right? And if you are a company that is registered, then you have to look at, where do I fall in this bracket? Is my turnover, meaning my sales, is it less than 100 million? Everything that I use to produce everything that I'm doing in the business, whether you're a freelancer, whatever it is that you're doing, your capital items, if they are less than 250 million, then you are totally exempt from CIT. Now, I don't want you to make a decision yes as to whether you want to leave being a business name and just go and register as a company. We'll get into the meat of it, and you understand where you should really stand. Again, there's no one that you just say, this is where I'm going, without taking time to look at the pros and the cons. But then for now, let's understand that if I have a company and that company, my turnover is less than 100 million, then I will not be taxed under this new tax regime. So no capital gain tax, no development levy tax. Development levy is that new levy that they used to summarize every other levy that we used to have before. We used to have a laundry list of them. I don't want to bore you with them. But then everything has now been summarized into 4%. So if you have your income within this range, then you're good. Now, if you do not maintain a good, proper bookkeeping, or what we will call record keeping, you will not be able to tell where you fall in this annual turnover. And then you will not even know what sort of taxation accrues to you. So one of the things that is very important for creatives to know in this time with this new tax reform is that you need to keep adequate and accurate account. But I won't run ahead of myself. I thought so that you would understand this very one that I have on my screen. So moving over, remember that I had explained that if you're a business, you have a registered business name, you're not different from you. So if you don't have that company registered, then you'll be taxed under the personal income tax part of the reform. And this also, the revision that has been brought to it is the first 800,000 that you make in a year is taxed as zero, is exempted from taxation, and then it is projected. I have an example that would help you to drive it home in subsequent slide, but just follow. So prior to now, we used to have something that we called consolidated relief, but in this new tax act, that relief has been taken off, is being replaced with rent relief, and it is capped at 500,000. You would understand it very much better when we get into the real life example that we'll be using. So just note that, people that do not earn, so if you look at it and do your maths well, If I'm saying that you will not pay tax on your first 800,000, it means that everybody that earns lower than 666,666,667 thousand every month will not pay tax. And also, you as an individual, probably you still, some of us, we do these things aside also. We still work and we're doing something else in addition to what we are doing. So if you have a business and you are using a business name, just a registered business name, whatever you make from that business or whatever salary you earn from that business, the first 800,000 is tax exempt. Just follow me, you would understand this clearly as we proceed. So what are the things that you should also note? So if you are a big company, again, we'll get here. We don't like to explain things for you to just know what is applicable to you now. I'm sure that there are people on this call that are very aspirational and they want to grow. They want to go beyond the four walls of this country. You also need to note this. So companies that have annual turnover of 50 billion or more, and those that are belonging to or are part of a multinational group, and that has annual turnover in euro of 750 million or above, and that meets the minimum criteria of the 15% effective interest rate. Now, this is what they will pay going forward. I won't bore you with it, but then it's also very important that you know it. I'd said that the levies have been consolidated into 4, and this is how they used to be broken down before. Small businesses used to pay 3%, of the accessible profits. They used to pay tertiary education, police trust fund, and all that. All those things have now been consolidated into 4%. And the new effective tax rate is now 25%. But just follow me as we proceed again. It's also very important that you know that now we have some items that government has called zero-rated items, right? We have, that bracket of items that now have zero tax has expanded. So for some essentials such as food, medicine, electricity, educational material, they are now zero rated. So government is saying that, I am not saying that they don't have a VAT. I'm saying that there is value added service on it, but the rate that are choosing to charge on this category of item is 0%. And they are still exempt items, right? And why I also wanted to make you understand this a bit better is, as creatives, you buy stuff. So if you buy a laptop, for example, they will charge you value-added tax on that laptop. You pay the cost of the laptop plus a value-added tax. Now you can claim a refund for that value-added tax. So one thing that is very important as in this new administration is that you have good understanding of what you are supposed to pay and what you are supposed to be paid. So it's not just all about, oh, you are going to be charged this. There are things you can also take advantage of, and it is very expedient that you know what those things are. So that's why we're talking about this VAT side of the business. So you can now recover anything, any VAT that you have incurred on fixed assets can now be recovered, provided you can prove that you use that thing to produce. So let me go back to the fashion designer that just recently probably got industrial machines. When those industrial machines were delivered to you, you paid the cost of that item plus value-added tax. Now, because that machine, you use it solely for the purpose of your business and you're using it to produce additional supplies, then you would be able to claim impute VAT on that. So very important. So I defined what impute VAT is, that tax that you pay when you purchase an item that you use in your operation. This is another topical one that a lot of people just said, oh, I've been here, I heard plenty things. I've heard plenty things. People would say that this one, they want to restrict all our accounts and I don't want to put my money in the bank again and stuff like that. That's not true. All the government is trying to do is to be able to trace people. And I must say that creatives are the people that are very culpable. Yeah, part of the people that government is interested in being able to track. So what they're trying to do is to be able to identify you as you. So all they're going to be doing is they just want, so if you have an existing thing, that becomes your your tax identification. If you don't have, you can generate. So on their website, there is a link where you can search with your NIN what your TIN number is, and ultimately your NIN would also become your TIN number. So you just want to be able to, you know, ensure that you're identified as a single person. And well, they're also trying to ensure that tax is also unified across the relevant touch points, so there are no misses anywhere. So capital gains tax is a tax that you is, as the name implies, is actually tax on gains, right? So if you bought shares on stock on the floor of the stock exchange and you trade in securities, you are charged a particular tax. But there is also an exemption now, right? If you're selling shares and the gain on it does not exceed 10 million, if you get your total gain on the trading of your stocks does not exceed 10 million in a year, then you'll be exempted from CGT. Again, it's important for creatives to know. I know that a lot of us, some of us do buying and selling of shares. And typically, I don't even, I will get there, but just maybe a lot of us don't really make as much as 10 million naira as gain, you know, on the sale of our security. So one thing is very important. If you do not know your rights, then you'll be cheated, because the taxmen across the state's tax authority and all, they can still come, and because again, everybody is learning, everybody is trying to understand the new tax rules. So if they come and they claim things that are not written in the tax rule, it is your own job to educate them, if possible, to tell them that no, this is what the law says about, and then support yourself, do adequate documentation, and then you're fine. So if you are doing buying and selling of security and your net gain on that, on the purchase and sale of that security is not more than 10 million naira, then there is no taxation for you. Please note that as well. Tax incentives, you guys are creatives, but it's also important that you note this, you know, there's introduction of agro tax relief. People that are going into agriculture, you know, there's a relief for them, 5-year income tax exemption. There are also allowable deductions for people that want to do research and development. So if you are doing something in gene or something that hasn't been done before, you're researching and you're trying to discover the root cause of anything, government has, you know, giving a reduction of 5% of your turnover as an incentive. They also introduce a development levy, you know, 5% of annual tax credit that you can carry for 5 years on your capital allowance if you have things in that bracket as well. Don't worry, we're coming very close to things that really borders what you do. There is a lot of increased compliance is what they're trying to do, and so there will be penalties if you do not file your taxes. So one thing that government is trying to ensure that you do now is that you file your taxes, and you file your taxes correctly. You can file your tax by yourself, or you can hire a consultant who knows better. You know, by the time you evaluate your situation and you understand your business, you can then tell whether you are able to do this by yourself or you need someone to help you. But there is always penalties. So imagine for late filing, already you pay 100,000, and then the first month in the first month you pay 100,000, then you pay 50,000 additional for every month of default. Some people have been defaulting since probably 3 or 4 years ago. So if you accumulate that money, that's the reason why it looks like some of the tax liabilities are bigger. Now another thing that may affect you is the fact that bigger companies will now be sanctioned if they give you a contract and you do not have you are not a registered taxpayer. So you can imagine that you might not get a job just because you are not compliant. So it's very important for you if you want to continue to get jobs from big corporates, you want to get jobs from even smaller entities, because they know that they can catch you through them. So you work for them on different occasions, you have different things to do with them. If you are not a registered taxpayer and it is discovered that they do business with you, they will be sanctioned. And you can imagine that people will not want to get a sanction on your behalf. So if you're not registered, you're then limiting the potential that your business can go to. So it's very important that you have your businesses registered. Let's now look at the impact on you. Impact on you, impact on you. Very important impact that it has had on you now is the fact that the tax framework has expanded what is taxable. Prior to now, one of the gaps in the tax refund or in the whole tax is that taxable, what is taxable is actually not very clear. But this new tax law has harmonized everything and has made it clear. They called it worldwide income. So whether you're a musician, whether you're a filmmaker, whether you're a graphic designer, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're a content creator, the law now defines what is taxed to you. So, I mean, what should be taxed in your income? So the framework is bigger and it recognizes everyone in that bracket. In addition, if you're living in Nigeria and you make money, so there is also that definition of who a resident in Nigeria should be. If you have stayed in Nigeria for more than 183 days, you are deemed you are deemed a resident person, a person that is resident in Nigeria. So because of all that, that you're a resident in Nigeria, so you need to ensure that you are compliant. Whether you're making the money from abroad, it really doesn't matter again. Prior to now, the monies that you make from your YouTube account, the monies that you make from, probably some royalties and all that, they weren't captured in the tax. But what is now happening is, provided you meet that criteria that you have lived in Nigeria for more than 103 days, then you will be charged. So the bucket of the people that should be charged is bigger. Someone then said, so how would they know? They won't know me, they won't know me. Please don't wait for them to discover, for you to discover that your data is actually in the public. So far you have a bank account, you work and you have an account with any of the banks, then you're not safe. Right? So it is very important that you do self-reporting and you put your records in order so that you're not caught unawares. I saw a post on Instagram recently and it made me laugh that this year when people are doing transfers, you should make it very clear. But then the person was actually saying the truth, because we need to, in your accounts, when people are doing transfers to you, most especially for people who do not have, so if you have a business name, you can actually create a company account and run your business account from, let it be entirely different from your personal account. One of the pitfalls or one of the errors that, freelancers, young SME business, one of the challenges they have is that they are not able to separate the business from their personal life. This year, ensure that you are able to separate what the business earns from what you earn. Because again, if it's a business account, it will be easier for you to do proper invoicing and tell people appropriately narrate. Because if you don't appropriately narrate this year, they can just say you're a big company, because every inflow into your account is a suspect. So separate the business account from your account. With a business name, you can open accounts with any, in fact, you should come to Optimus Bank. Don't let me even say you should open your account with any business. Come and open your account in Optimus Bank. We would help you section it, and then we also offer you some consultations, right? So the tax bracket is widened. This year, one of the things you must ensure to do is have invoice properly. Creatives, please issue proper invoice, have proper contract. So in the event that a taxman comes to ask you for, or is asking for some additional tax liability to be, sanctioned, to be given to you, you can tell them, no, this is my contract. Show them the contract of the contract. You are creating a proper invoice, you have proper contract, so people can understand your business. Because when they come to do reviews with you, it is going to be onus of proof. If it is not documented, then you cannot claim it. So ensure that as you're doing business this year, maintain proper invoicing. And funny enough, there are a lot of free invoicing platforms that you can use, from Waves to Zoho to all the things that are free online that you can use to track your payments. Then ensure you have contractual agreement. Oh, we're doing this thing for 3 years. I'm going to be earning 20% of it. Let it be clearly documented and saved in a place where you can easily, refer to it. In a digital world, I don't expect that anything you have in paper form, you don't have it online. Create a shared folder, right, online, whether it's OneDrive, put your documentation, appropriately call it, sticky tunes, whatever your name is. Put contract of employment, put contract agreements with relevant party, your royalty agreement, your lease obligation, everything. Let them be safely, secured. Taxmen only understand documentation, and you can't just explain it away. Oh, after all, nobody's going to listen to after all. Ensure that your documentation is complete. So this year, there's going to be enhanced monitoring. You can't run away. Banks now have obligation to send your records, especially if you use your personal account for business. They're going to be rendering and doing their own part of the game. And then they're going to be doing sample checks. Of course, they've also invested in technology that will help them to be able to pick any gaps. So please ensure that you keep your records well, because the taxman has also, they have advanced in their operations. Tax identification number, like I said, ensure that you have a tax identification number, maintain adequate record, an accurate record. If you have foreign earnings, just, sit down and determine what are the sources of income to this business. So is it from your YouTube account? Is it from a royalty that you have been paid? Is it an upfront fee? Whatever it is, write them down, right? Of course, if you need the service of a professional accountant, please don't hesitate to seek one. And then some of these things actually you can also do yourself. Just be interested. There is nothing that we all cannot do, only if we commit ourselves to doing it. And it's not as difficult as you think. So ensure you have record. I already also mentioned these exemptions that is available, and I said we'll get to a place where we will discuss, what should actually be the best. I'm not going to impose anything on you. I would let you go and think through the options that I will be explaining, and then you can determine, what you think is the most appropriate option for you. So let's now look at you. If you are an individual, we just spoke about the business. If you're an individual, what are the things you need? We already spoke about the taxpayer ID, very important for you as you proceed. One very important thing is, with this new tax rule, low-income earners are able to, get some rebates in their a bit of increase in their take home because of that graduation and everything. Like I said, I have an example. When we get there, you understand and see that impact of how it affects you. Middle to high income earners will see adjustments in their taxes because there will be some form of increase in theirs, and it could be significant depending on where you are. So probably you're a creative on the call and you still have 9 to 5. This is also very important. So discuss with your HR. You can take a life assurance. It helps you with it helps you to reduce your taxes. You can do voluntary contribution. Of course, each of the options has their own pros and cons. So, for example, if you opt for an additional voluntary contribution in addition to the existing pension that you and your employer does, what that does for you is that you have you get some tax savings because it's deductible, is an expense that you can use. It gives you a relief, right? But then it reduces your salary immediately, but then it helps you to save tax. Then you can also not collect the money until after 2 years. So you just weigh your benefits, and then when you eventually want to collect the money from the pension house, you also pay some form of taxes. So, but then it's net. I personally believe that is a better one for anyone that is interested in exploring that. So what are the reliefs that you can add to what you have? Today, all organized, if you work for a structured organization, you already have pension, right? NHF is voluntary. NHF is National Housing Fund. It's voluntary, but you can still decide that you would be a part of it. It helps you to reduce your tax. If you also work for structured organization, they pay for an health scheme for you. It's either they deduct the money from your salary or they pay for it on behalf of the organization. So if they deduct it from your salary, whichever one they do, it is a relief for you, right? So it serves as a relief. And so remember I said your pension, your NHF, your NHIS, right, which is the health care scheme. You know, all those things they have, they can help you to reduce your tax. You can also do voluntary contributions. You know, all those things combined together are allowable expenses, and they serve as relief for you. Rent relief is also another thing that the government has introduced that will help you to effectively manage your taxes. I understand that there are still some things that the government is trying to roll out for the administration. Some organizations have started accepting the rent relief, some have not. It is 20% of your annual rent, higher of 500K, or 20% of your annual rent, whichever is higher. They would they would determine it, and I mean it's capped at 500. So those things are very important for you. NHIS and HMO, they're exactly the same thing. I saw a question in the team now. So NHIS is the HMO scheme. Okay, so moving on. So this is what I just spoke about in terms of the net relief. Okay, so let's see a sample simple calculation that can help you drive some of these things home. So let's say that this is the pay slip or the net income for a freelancer. This person does UI UX designs. After every, so this, I want to show you how the old computation is, and then we'll go to the new computation. So this person, the gross income is 6 million, meaning that every month is able to earn 500,000, you know, from this kind of business. Let's assume that the rent of the person is 1 million, and then pension, which is your own contribution, is actually 8% of your gross income. Let's say it's 480. Just please follow. So, you know, I already spoke about deduction. I said your pension is a deductible allowance, and we used to have CRA before, consolidated annual relief. So this is the whole methodology. What would have happened to this person's income? It will have been, so when you take out, so that pension is 480, the consolidated annual relief is 200,000 plus 20% of 6 million. And then let's just use the scenario as the perfect scenario, right? And then that gives us 1.4 million. So if you take everything together and you want to determine, so accessible income, taxable income, chargeable income, they all mean the same thing. So when you take this person's 6 million and you add the pension and the CRA, the deductible allowance becomes 1.88 million. So the amount that is taxable is 4.1 million. This 4.120 million, this 4.10, in the old tax regime, what they will have done is your first 300 at 7%. That gives 21,000 tax. Then your next 300 at 11%. Then your next 500 at 15. Your next 500 at 19. Your next, so this person, the money that will be remaining will be 1.6 at 21. So, I mean, the next 1.6 at 21, the money remaining is 920 after all these 300, 300, 500, 500, 1.6, then it's charged at 24%. This person's annual tax on a salary of 6 million in the formal tax rule is 780,800. You know, following the formal tax rule. Remember that in the formal tax rule, there was no base that was 0%. In the new one, there's now a base that is 0%. So I want you to see how this person will change if they are now in the new tax rule. Can you help me confirm that you understand what is on the screen? If you don't get it, can you just let me know it's clear? Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right. So this is what this person will have paid if he was in the old regime. So let's move to the new regime. So this is the new regime. This person's annual income hasn't changed. He's still doing his UIUS. He's still earning 500K per month and all. But there's a change. The first here is the fact that there's no CRA again. That consolidated relief is no longer there. It now has rent relief. Remember that I said the rent relief is lower of, sorry, not higher of, is lower of the 500K and the 20% of the person's rent. So if 20% of your rent is more than 500K, we will stick to 500K. That's what this means, right? So the assessable profit of this person is 5.3. What was it in the last scenario? Let me see if you guys are following me. Hey, let me go there. What was it in the last scenario? The person's accessible income. Okay, 4.1. Is Michael correct? 4.2. Who else has another version? Okay, let me show you. So the person's accessible income was 4.12. So why do we think that the accessible income is higher here? So you see the effect. So the accessible income in this scenario is higher, but the tax in this scenario is lower. So why do you think that? You can type it? Why do you think that the tax is lower here? Why do you think the accessible income is higher here? And you can also unmute to talk if you want to make a contribution. Let's engage. Why do you think that the accessible income is different? So same, nothing has changed. The person's pension has not changed. The person said it's lower cost the rent because of the rent reduction. Okay. Is it the rent reduction? Okay. Why do we think it's lower? Let me go back to that other scenario. So we study it. So just so we don't waste time, right? The CAR here is 1.4, right? But the rent we live here, right, is capped, right? It's capped at 500. And this person, exactly, Evelyn, thank you, the CAR. This person, they didn't tell us whether there are other reliefs. So in the new tax rule, you must ensure that you take advantage of all the other reliefs that can help you to maximize and reduce your taxation. So yes, the accessible income here is high. However, despite the fact that the accessible income is higher, meaning that the amount of the person's salary that is eligible to be taxed is higher than what it was in the last scenario. Yet the tax is lower. Why? Because the person's first 800K, you know, that first one, we started with first 300, right, at 5%. The first person's first 800K in this scenario is taxed at 0. So you can imagine that, you know, so that's, I want to move again. So I want you to appreciate what I'm saying. So the first 300K is at 7%. The next 300K is at 11. So you can see 7 and 11 is almost taking off in this scenario because, I hope you can see my screen. Okay. So if you look at the other scenario, the first 800, which is almost entering into this 500K, that the person is paying 0 tax. Irrespective of your income level, you pay 0 taxation at that level, right? So yes, the money that is being assessed for tax is higher, but the tax to be lower. Then under this scenario, the next 2.2 million is charged at 15%. Again, I'll go back to that other scenario so that you will see. So if you see here, where the person's money should have been charged at about 19% in this scenario, in the other scenario, it is now charged at a flat 5%. So you have the advantage of 0, and then you have an advantage of lower than the tax rate in the other one. So the people that really would get more impact from this tax bracket are the people that earn more, which is what the government is trying to do. They're trying to ensure that if you earn more, then you should pay more, which is what a lot of the advanced countries do. You know, the people that earn more money, they are asked to pay more because, of course, it's seen that they have more capacity and they can, of course, you know, serve as like an argument for the entire tax bracket. So the next 2.2 million is at 15%. The balance of 2.3 million is at 18. This person is still not taxed as much as it was taxed before. Remember that in the other slide, this person was taxed as much as 23%. But in this new tax rate, his income is seen as a mid-level person, and the person is not taxed as much as it will have been taxed before. It will have been a flip, right? If this money was probably 40 million. If this money was probably 40 million, a lot of the money would then come into the other category and will be charged at about 20 to 25%. So that's the difference, and that's something that we need to note. So what should you expect? What should you expect? What the government now expects you to do? Tax compliance is no longer optional. You need to ensure that you're compliant with your taxation, do proper registration, determine what you actually want your business to be. So let me now, I said when I get here, I was going to explain a few things. So at this point, if your business, I know Olumide, if you could just go on mute, would appreciate. What you need to do is, if you have a business name, then you will be paying taxes under the personal income tax. Once you have done that, it's either, and it will be on the profit of the company, right? If you pay yourself salary, you pay taxes. On the net profit of the organization, you also have to, file taxes on it, right? If it's a company, if you can ascertain that your turnover is not up to 100 million, then you're exempted from taxes. However, it is also seen that there are people that work for you in the organization and you yourself, right? If the company is not paying tax, it doesn't mean that you will not pay tax. So on the salary that you earn in the business, you will, be charged personal income tax on it. And anybody that works with you in the organization whose income is also lower than 800,000 in a year would also be asked to pay tax. Now, the leeway is, because you are the owner of the company, right? You can determine how much you want to pay yourself. Again, you should not also be seen as wanting to defraud, and probably your company is making like 80 million, and then you say your salary is 10,000. It will also sound a bit ridiculous. So it looks like there's more advantage on the limited liability side, aside, because I really can't tell how many count of employees that you have, so you still pay personal income tax. However, the business itself, because it's separate from you, will not be paying taxes. So look at your business, identify where you are in the whole bucket, and then determine what type of business you want to run. So adequate reporting is very important. Ensure that you include all the income that you've earned, whether it's from your side hustle, from your business name, for your salary. Remember that underreporting or omission will now attract sanctions. File on time. Taxes must be filed early before the due date. Late filing again attracts, attached penalties. I'm trying to rush so that we can take questions now. Proper record keeping, this is new. Ensure you have your records. I said it, maintain your contract document, do proper invoicing, do bank receipts very well. Ensure that you're narrating very well. Don't just transfer and say, me, you, take, don't forget, things like that will no longer, taxman will just say that qualifies for an inflow. So narrate appropriately. It doesn't cost much. Just say, this is for my freelancing, whatever, this is an expense and all. And then ensure that in the business, you put expenses that are for the business on the business books. Don't put expenses that are for your personal use on the businesses, on the book of the business. Let it be the expense that the company has incurred. And don't hesitate to ensure that, so if you're using your house, for example, as your office, you can divide your rent and determine, you can do a floor space allocation to that business and say that this business, I use probably my dining area as my business area. My rent is 1 million. The floor space allocation of my dining area is so. You can divide it and then say that is the rent for the business. It's an eligible expense and it is allowable, right? Things, lights. So in the house as well, you can allocate a portion of your light to that area where you use. Just ensure that you adequately, determine what belongs to the business and let the business bear their expense. So same with fueling. Just do appropriations and appropriate the part that belongs to the business. Don't commingle business money with your money. Let the business pay for it. And then if you are still at the stage where you are still the one using your money for the business. It's okay. Take it from your own pocket, put it in the business pocket. Let it be probably a capital injection or loan from owner. Just ensure that your record is very adequate. So what do you risk if you don't do it on time? Remember that lack of knowledge is very costly. Um, Incorrect deduction from your income could cost you a lot. So ensure that you are doing things rightly. Don't wait to be penalized. When you have good records, people may want to partner with you. You can have a loan, you can have a grant. A lot of things can happen to your business when things are done properly. So imagine that you went for a bid and they're asking for a company that has filed their taxes in the last 3 years. And as a small company, you show your record of filing taxes for the last 3 years. You show your financial statement. You will be seen as someone that is ready to move to the next level than someone that they're asking you, where's your financial, where's everything? You don't even have anything. So it helps you. Please don't go through the stress of being picked and you now don't have anything. Don't stress yourself. Ensure that you do things rightly. Separate your personal from your your personal life from your business. Also, when it comes to tax assessments for not doing things rightly, it comes with its own penalty. So you don't see a charge. Sometimes it's best of judgment, and it can be frustrating. So please ensure that you do the things rightly. I already said this myth and the truth. I said that people think that government will just be debiting their accounts, or because they now have as 18, things will happen. Just know that in reality, before anything happens to you, they will bring a notice to you and say that this is a letter they're writing to you. They want to do an audit, so. But that time may be too short for you to start to put things in order, and that will happen many times this year. What is the next step that I think? I told you, determine the structure of your business. Do you want to run as a registered business or a limited liability? Please keep good record. Simple, correct record. Ensure that you have them. Please engage a tax professional if you need one. Collect your withholding tax notes. When you have rendered the service and they are withholding tax from you, please collect it, because you can use it to reduce your final tax and then claim your VAT impute. Understand the new tax law very well. What you're doing today is very beautiful because you are improving your understanding. Stay updated and decide to be compliant. Full disclosure of all your revenue is very important because it will help you and save you some embarrassment. I'll take questions now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. That was very, very insightful. Really appreciate the effort. So guys, it's Q&A session time, right? I think you could either feel free to use the comment to give your questions, or click on the hand raising button and we'll give you the floor to ask your question. So we'll be waiting for you guys to prepare the questions you've noted and either use the chat or raise your hand to ask. So I have a question. In short, I have questions, but I don't know if time will allow us to respond that. But basically, if we find any similar question that you've answered, we'll not address it, except your question is unique to what has already been answered. So let me just ask my question, then you go on while other people giving their question.
All right.
Now,
go ahead. Yeah.
So I wrote it down. Give me a moment. Yeah, so as a creative, I mean, most of us currently, we run our businesses through our personal accounts. So I want to know if, as a bit like for the service you offer, basically, there are some costs you run into that are associated to the service you offer. So if somebody is coming in that they want like a logo, there are some other underlying costs that you need to incur, like some of us get resources, we pay subscription for some of the platforms we use, or we even take training to understand or deliver those tasks. The same thing likewise, like a fashion designer, they get materials that they use to sew those clothes. So in terms of declaring our income, right, how do we properly consider those expenses associated to those business, to those service that was offered. And how do you manage that? Right? How do you report that to the tax person that out of the 100,000 credit transaction that came in because of this service I offered, at least I spent about 20% on some things that was able to allow me to deliver that, right? How do you record that? I would like you to answer it, especially specifically for, like, especially if you are running from a personal account. Are those allowable in terms of when you are reporting your tax filing? Can you say that, oh, from this 1 million you see that I made this year, I did some training, I, got well to offer the services, I pay for some subscription. So how do we um keep those type of transactions, those type of scenarios?
Okay, thanks for your question, Ayadeji, and very happy you just described what happens to a typical freelancer and a typical creative. My first advice to you is, first of all, go and separate your business account from your personal account. It is possible, right? It's either you have a business name, like I said, or you decide to go the limited route. Anyone you decide to do, have it registered and approach a bank. Again, Optimus Bank is at your service. I understand that Tosin on the call is your account officer, so please feel free to reach out to her and she would help you create, open an account for the company. There are some basic requirements that you need to meet, and then she'll help you open an account for the company. So once you have an account that is open for the company, any money that your business for a
Hello?
design, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, all right. So whether someone has paid you for a design or whatever it is that you do, fashion, freelancer, writing, whatever it is, let your income go directly into that business. Let's now go to how you can track your expenses. Remember that I said that it's important that you prepare good record. Very basic. You don't even need, you don't, there are also online softwares that you can leverage that would help you online free that you don't even need to pay for. But let's even assume that you're not that sophisticated, you don't know how to use those platforms. Just open a spreadsheet, put money that came in for me, uh, design for so 30,000, 1 million. Then you now put your expenses. In your expenses is, you remember I said that you must charge to the business what the business uses. And I also gave a description that even if you're sitting on you are using a part of your house, the part of the expenses of the house can be appropriated to the business. Just ensure that what you're appropriating is fair. So, and then you have a receipt. So for you have done a training. Ensure that when you do go for trainings, you get a certificate. That training is related to that your business. Discharge that training to the business. So say you have the income that has come in is 1 million. Your training is 200,000. You take it out of that 1 million, right? And use it to pay. So it is the business that is training you. But if you are into graphics, I have gone to do business on how to do fashion designing. Again, that's not aligned. But if you're doing graphics and the training that you have gone for is on how to improve and is clearly on how to get better as a graphic designer, then charge it to the business. That is an allowable expense. Tax used to say that an expense must be, reasonable, right? Is it reasonable? Is it only for the business? So you must understand that if your expense is reasonable and it is only for the sake of the business, then it is allowable. So other things that there would always be indirect costs, right? Even big corporates have indirect costs. When you have indirect costs, appropriate it reasonably, and then it will be fine. So first is create an account that is different from your personal account. Charge to the business everything, whether it's a marketing expense, whether it is direct, whether it is indirect. Don't overcharge you so that you won't have issues. But charge what belongs to the business, and ensure that you don't commingle. Don't run your personal account as though it's your business account, and don't run your business account as though. So it is as strict as there is 800,000 in the business account. I need money and I can't touch it until I have probably declared I'm done with the year. You can decide that probably you want to be closing your books every half year. When you declare your profit, you can then spend it. But 800,000, so you shouldn't, except if you have a, I don't know, you will repay it. You shouldn't go and say that that's money you want to go and give it to probably your friend, your mom, or even say you want to use it to contribute in any religious association. Contribute from your personal account, from what is attributable to you, and not, don't use the capital of the business to do anything you're not supposed to use it for. You understand? Yeah. I hope that
Awesome.
answers the question.
Yes, 100%. 100%. Thanks for that. So, designer Leaks Tran. Sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly. I think you said you have a question, please. You could use the mic. And I think I saw a question. Yes, Evelyn asked a question in the chat. So she was asking, which is also one of the questions I noted, right? Is HMO arrangements different from NHIS? Because I want to think that, so like me personally, I have an HMO with Leadway. So can I put that in my tax exemption that I pay Leadway premium every year for my HMO? Is that what the government is saying that is part
Yes.
of? Okay. So even though
Yes.
it's personal, right? Even though
Say
it's
that
personal.
again.
I said even though it's personal.
Yes, yes. If you have any if you make payments to all the health providers, right? Sometimes the organization has organized it for you. So if you have, so let me clarify. If your organization already did one for you, and that's already in your payroll, and then you then go and take a personal one, that's overdue.
Yeah.
So if your organization does not have, and as a sole proprietor, you decide to take out um, an health plan for yourself, it is an allowable expense.
Okay. Thank you very much. I hope
Yeah.
that answers Evelyn's question. Okay,
Yeah,
I think
yeah. I
Smith.
answered it when I was talking.
Okay. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for this section. Thanks for this opportunity. Though I believe this few challenges. But the
You
question now is
sound
like,
low. Okay.
can you hear me?
You are kind of breaking. You're breaking. We can't hear you like crystal clear. You can use the chat to ask your question.
You-
Okay,
You're not.
can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Yeah,
can hear you.
better.
Okay. So
It's better now.
all right. So I've been of lately I have a money point business account, and I don't used to receive a kind of deduction from my or for tax. But recent I've been getting deduction of VAT, and it doesn't happen to my normal other banks if I do any transaction. But for my money point, that is a business account. If I do any transaction from that business account, they deduct a VAT, that's VAT from it. But why I want to know, like, why are they deducting it, and will it also reflect, or will it also reflect as the annual tax deduction or the tax calculation that I'm going to do? You get the question?
Yeah, I got you. You might want to be a bit more specific on the reason why you would do transaction. They will just take VAT. I want to understand. Without, it's not like they are crediting you an income and then they are charging VAT on it. It might just be peculiar to your relationship with that institution you mentioned. But then I see no reason why they will just sit down and then charge you VAT for doing a transaction. You might want to check.
Okay, but okay, the thing here is now, money point is a kind of online banking, and I don't know how I can ask that question or why. But I'm not the only one that experienced it. I have a friend
Yes,
too that
so if that is bespoke to them, you might need to reach out to their customer care to explain the reason. And honestly, I might not be able to answer your question as to the reason why MoneyPoint charges you VAT when you just carry out a transaction. They will be in the best place to explain. It could also be that it's a promotional item. They already said it or added it to the things that you would you'll be charged when you use the account. But I won't speak for them. You might just want
Yeah,
to
exactly.
yeah, from them.
Those type of expenses usually it usually differs from the bank you use. So it's like it might be a charge from the bank for every transaction you do. So the best person to answer that questions would be your bank. The
But come to
person.
Optimus Bank, sha, I will not charge you VAT unnecessarily.
So
So
yeah,
Tosin is on the call. She would help you open your account, and then you will get unexplained
the VAT.
deductions from your account. But then they can answer your question. Yeah.
Thank you. So Smith, quickly ask your question.
Okay. I have a list of questions. I noted them down, and let me just read it out. You said number one, we should um pay our taxes on due dates. Do we have a specific due dates? That's number one. Proper narration. That's number two. I'm going to drop it on the chat so that you can easily identify them. So proper narration. What is the best narration to give to all of these things? I know that you said when you do something concerning your business, like you get stuff that are related to your business, you can just write it there on your narration. What is a good narration and what is a bad narration? Expenses on your business, I understand that part. For the floor allocation, for instance, I'm working from my house. I work in a or I live in a 3 bedroom flat. I work from a one room in the 3 bedroom. So you're saying if I'm paying 1 million naira, I should split the payments and then factor out what I should charge for the space of that one room. Is that what you are saying on that? Same with light allocation, fuel allocation. Don't mingle business money. I understand that with personal money. So let me just drop this and probably you clear that. Then also, I already have a account with Optimus Bank, and Tosin is my account officer. I'm sure she can hear me now. Well done, Tosin.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Thank you for having account with us. So I'll answer your question with all my chest, all my full chest.
Okay, so let me post the question in.
All right. So let me answer your question. So
Sorry,
yes,
there's a follow-up. Sorry, so that you can answer this one. There's a follow-up
all
to
right.
what
Okay.
she not asked. So
All
in
right.
respect to shared apartment or share. So if, for instance, I'm partnering with Smith, we are using the same space or apartment for our work. Like, can I also, and we are paying 1 million, right? Can I get a tax relief on it? Can he also get a tax relief on it?
Okay.
Even if we are
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Your questions are very valid and thanks for asking them. So yes, there is a deadline for filing all your taxation. So for example, first is your pay remittance is due the 10th day of the following month. So remember I said that pay is every month, right? If you are running a business name or you have a corporate, you pay your staff and pay yourself. So you are supposed to file your pay the 10th day of the following month, or not before the 10 days of the 10th day of the following month. So please note that. If you are an individual, okay, so for companies as well, you're supposed to do your employee annual returns, right? By 31st. So um that's last month, like that's yesterday now. Yesterday, yeah. Yesterday was the deadline for filing annual returns. Sometimes the government would tell you whether they are doing an extension. So employee annual returns is you're supposed to file all the tax of all your employees on a consolidated basis and submit it. So that's due January 31st every year. Then individual returns, which is what self-employed people do, is due on or before March 31st of every year. March 31st of every year. So there's a deadline of the 10th day, not working day, day of the following month. There is a deadline of 31st December for filing the employee annual returns. Then individual returns that self-employed people file and also people that are working, you file your individual returns March 31st, 2026. If you are a company, you're supposed to pay your taxes within 6 months of the financial year end. So typically, once the year has ended, before June 30th, you should file your company income tax. So what you should do is know where you belong in the old brackets and take advantage of the window. So for example, if you're supposed to pay your payee before 10th and you don't pay it, there are sanctions and there are penalties that you get. And for every missed period, the sanction continues to accumulate. So it's important to know those dates and follow them strictly. Then you spoke about proper narration. What is proper narration? So we'll use a freelance, so a UI UX designer, for example. When you want to put invoice, you want to give invoice, it is being designed for, probably you did design for a mall, or you did design for probably a bank, or you did design for anybody. So narrate it as UI UX design, the name of the company, UI UX design, Adetutu Nigeria Limited, UI UX design, Optimus. Let your narration be that clear. Then if you are also incurring expenses from the business, let it be obvious that that expense is for the business, is in line with what the business does. So in your account, or your account for your organization, I shouldn't be seeing narration of food or gifts. If it's a gift that is solely for the business, again, let it be clear. Maybe it's a facilitation gift or something. But don't be careless with the narration. Don't just write food. Don't just write take. Don't just write I bless you. You don't have things like that in your. Let it be clear. UI UX design this, UI UX design that, like that, and it's clear. If you're sewing, for example, it should be that you have sewn for someone. So dress design or dress, then the name of the client or something, that clear, so that is easier. So same with your expense narration. Let your expense narration be clear. Let us know what you have spent money on. General utility, entertainment. Again, be reasonable with your entertainment so that it doesn't look like you're using all the monies of the business to entertain. So entertainment, general utility, electricity, rent, things like that are liable expenses, and you can record it in your business. For first pay allocation, a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, some of us are not able to readily get a space designated for itself. However, you are using up resources in your house. Probably during the day you were not supposed to put on gen, but because you are working from home, you have to put on your gen, and that cost belongs to the business and not you. Because if you were not running your business from home, your gen will not be on at that time. So what you would do is, again, be fair in your estimates, right? And be able to defend it. Have your electricity bill and say probably a fourth of my electricity bill goes to my business, because I know that it is the business. In fact, you can even say a 3/4 of your gen bill goes to the business, because if you had gone to work, probably it's just in the night that you'll be using generator. But because there was no light all through the day, and you needed to do design, you needed to sew, you needed to sing, you needed to whatever it is that you're doing, allocate it to the business and have proper documentation for it. Nobody's going to floor you for doing that. Rent is another thing. So I still spoke about floor space allocation. That may not be all the bases that you'll be using, but for me, it's easier, right? If I stay in a probably 2-bedroom flat, and my dining has now turned to my dining, or maybe it's your own room that turned to your, just determine what portion of that house, 1/4 of your expense or something, charge it to the business. And anytime a tax person comes, you have a rent agreement that is in your name, right? And in fact, you can do an agreement between yourself and your company and write lease sublets to, as in just to make it very clear. Lease sublet. I can sublet my dining area of my room to this company, just to make sure that your documentations are very clear. Sign it, and then the expense in that area you give the business is clearer, easier, and tidier that way. Same thing with your lights. Because of that sublet agreement that you have done, you can just say 1/4 of every expense that I incur in my house belongs to the business because of ABCD. I spend this out. Just do some simple agreements, and then it's easier for you. So you can use that to allocate every other thing. For fueling, it might even be easier. When you are doing your personal run, when you are doing the business, the things that are for the business, you know. So again, because you are not as big, right, it might not be too easy to separate your expenses, but put a ratio to it and you will be fine. So I hope I answered all your questions. Yeah, I think I did.
Yes, you did. But
Yeah.
my follow-up question is, you said 31st of March is the due date for submission of
Annual
your
returns.
filing of your,
Mm.
yes. So in the case whereby my staff, I pay them wages instead of salary, how do I go about that? And then filing personally, what do I have to do? What are the things I need to put in place for that? And now that the tax is just, this tax, new tax reform is just happening, how do I do it? Should I wait till next year before filing it? Or it has to be this year, 2026 March?
Okay, thank you. So I believe that with the wages you spoke about, that means they are more like you pay them like fixed amounts regularly, like at intervals, right? Maybe hourly, daily, weekly. Like, can you help me confirm that assertion?
Okay, so I pay
Okay.
per commission every job they do.
You pay
Per commission.
per
I pay
commission. Okay.
commission per outfit they make.
Okay,
Yes.
beautiful. Everything you pay them in a year, per person is up to 800,000. If you were to estimate it.
I have to go back to the books for that.
You see why
I
it's
don't
very
have that
important
figure.
for you to keep. Okay, so you have to go back and do proper record keeping. Determine if each of your tailors or your fashion designers earn more than 800K in a year. If yes, then you have to file for them, right? You have to do a simple payroll that at the end of every month you accumulate everything you have paid for them together. The taxes for them will be very small. Again, this new tax regime is fair to people that do not earn as much. But then you still have to do a simple payroll for them. And then I think I have the templates that I can share with the organizers of this meeting that they can also circulate with you guys that will make it easy. Very simple payroll, no challenge. You know, you put your numbers into it, you determine what their pay is, 10th of the next month, you go and file for them. And then annually, you know the next best time is actually now. So if you were not able to meet up with the last year filing, please meet up with this one. At least it's a new version. You can even also explain that, you know, you're just starting and everything in the past year, even if they have challenges with you, you tell them that you put it straight. But now you know, and the next best time is now. Remember, January has gone now. That means you've missed the filing for January. So do February. But first of all, determine if all the money you pay them in a year is less than 800K, then you're fine because they are actually exempted from tax. But if all the money you pay them in a year per person is more than, is more than 800K, then you need to file taxes for them.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now I'm really conscious about time
Yeah,
because but let's just take one more question and we wrap it up.
okay.
Oluwatobi, I know we still have a lot of questions because this tax topic is very broad.
It's
Hopefully
topical.
if we're able to find another free time within Mrs. Adetutu's schedule, would let everyone know. But we need to, she's a very busy person, so we need to let her have
It's
her
okay.
time.
Okay.
All right, Oluwatobi, please, you have the floor. Then we wrap it up.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good
I joined
evening.
quite late, but I met the most important part that I came for, right? Okay, so this is a little confusing for me because of the kind of business I do. I'm into event planning and decoration. While I now have my 9 to 5, so my business will still is still a startup. The job doesn't come in every time. In fact, I might not even have a job in 3 months. Right. How does this apply to me? How do I record the wages I give to my, they're not really even my staff. I only call them when I have jobs, like the person doing my woodwork, doing drapings, So how does this apply to me? And also, how do I because really personal expenses will be taken from business sometimes. How do I ensure that, because they are not things, this money does not come regularly, so I take from it when it comes. So how do I handle all of this? you know I don't need my question clear. Thank you.
Very clear, very clear. Thanks for joining, Toby. All right. So you are a 9 to 5 person that has a side or that has a side also. So it makes it even easier because already with Lagos States will be evidence of filing for you. So that means you already have a payee number and then you have some taxes already filed. This extra income you make, you're supposed to file it yourself personally when you're doing your personal tax filing that happens in March. How do you ensure that you're able to keep your records? And it's okay if the business doesn't come every time, right? You're going to grow into a phase where the business becomes very global, that I'm sure of. So, but now when it comes, you must also look at, so those people that you pay money to, they are more like you're giving them commission, right? So they are not your employees. Um, and I'm sure that's what you pay them per time in those cycles. I don't know how much it is that you're able to spare to them, but then they might just fall in the bracket of the people that have low income. Now you are the person in question that needs to do adequate filing. So once your organization is done filing for you, you go to that platform. Everybody has, in Lagos State, if you stay in Lagos, you have a login ID that you can use on your platform. So when I want to do additional filings, I go into my platform and then when I'm doing my annual filing, there's a place where additional income is. I put any additional income that I've made that is different from my salary, into that filing, right? So that they can know that I made more money different from what I earn in my 9 to 5. So let's also assume that when you are done, this additional money, you need to pay taxes on it, right? You can also probably approach a tax person that can guide you as to how you can make your extra filings, or you can also talk to your organization and so I have this so amount. If it's something you're happy to let them know about, they will also guide you as to what to do. But then all the way they've taxed your personal income is the way you should tax the profits that comes from this venture, right? Now it's also a function of whether you have a registered business name or you have limited. If you have limited, you won't bother on the profit that comes from that business, right?
It's
If
limited.
it's less than 100 million, no, if it's less than 100 million and your company is limited, then you are exempted from tax, right? The only money you'll be budging your head on is if you paid yourself salary in the business, right? Which I expect that you pay. So you pay personal income tax, but you will not pay company tax. However, if you run a business name, you will pay personal income tax and also still pay tax from the profit of the organization. Now you can even finish with, that's why adequate record is important. You can prepare your financials and discover that currently you are making a loss in that business, not because you have not gotten as much customers. If you allocate the right expenses, you do everything to that business, you can see that probably is at a phase where it's still loss making and it's not generating sufficient income. But because you have put money from yourself into it, you think that it would even help you to know how to price your next customer. So if you do a proper contract reporting and you say, this project, I collected 1 million from it. Every money that I spent, whether it's the one that I paid my contractor, person that is doing woodwork, decoration, draping, everything that I spent, sometimes you see that you might have even spent 1.2 million. Meaning that on that contract, you actually didn't profit. However, sometimes we do businesses like that just because we want to do one so that you can gain more. But if you do the business and you see that on this, I didn't even make money, then there will be no need to pay taxes. So adequate reporting. Then you ask the very pivotal question, how do we ensure that we have that discipline? I don't know whether you were on the call already. If you have 1 million naira in your business account, and it is not time to either declare dividend or profit to yourself, and someone needs that money, even you need that money, you're not supposed to touch it because it's business money. That money belongs to Toby Nigeria Limited, doesn't belong to Toby. So if you put that in mind, it will really, really help you. So you spend the money and then separate the account, open a separate account for your business so that it's easier to know that this money belongs to the business. And when you have also borrowed the business your money, you collect it back. In fact, you can collect it back from the business with an interest rate, depending, you can say it's loan. So just to ensure that they are separated. Again, you don't want to kill yourself and be charging yourself loan when you know you are the one that will still repay it, right? But then separate the two arms of yourself and ensure that you deal. It's just like having two accounts. One is in one bank, the other is in another bank. And you decide that this money, oh, I want to use it for healthcare, or I want to use it to buy land, I want to use it to do something. You leave that money. So it's just like that. You must create that clear separation. In fact, you can decide that you open it in the bank, and then one account will be, handled by a team, the other will be handled by another. Just that it's separated, and you're able to effectively stay accountable as you progress. But it is very important that you're accountable. You record your expenses, record your income, so that you will not fall victim in the new tax regime. I hope I
Thank you.
answered the question, Toby.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. I just want to add. So take, for example, I have different accounts. It's a
Okay.
limited, it's a limited liability company,
Oh,
and I have
beautiful.
a business account for it, right? So take, for example, I need to pay my loan, my house rent, and I don't have, I need to make up money for the house rent, and I want to borrow from my business account with the hope or with the aim of returning it back to the business.
Mhm.
How do I handle that? That's my final question.
Okay, yes, you can borrow from the business with the aim of returning it. When you want to take the money out, you call it director's loan or owner's loan, right? So that it's clear. Just say loan to owner, director's loan, whatever it is, or shareholders loan, whatever you call yourself in the business. And please, if you can even do an agreement to yourself and say in 6 months I'll return this money. Once it's 6 months, you must pay that money back, because it is the business capital that you have borrowed and you must return it. So the same way you can borrow the company money, you can also borrow money from the company. Sometimes it's even a withdrawal of your capital. So say you started a business with 2 million naira, and now the business is already big. Your 2 million naira, you won't take out of it. You can take out of your capital, right? Provided that it will not hurt the business. But then just let your recording be very strict and straight. You can borrow money from yourself and return it under clear terms and condition. Write and a simple contract is easy to do. You can do an IOU the firm. You can do a simple money and say that I'm borrowing myself this, and I'll return it. Be disciplined to return it, and don't spoil the money from the business. Don't do 50K today, 50K tomorrow, 50K, 2K, 2K. No. If you borrow 600 million from the bank, from the loan, return correct 600 million when the time is due. That helps the business to be accountable, and it helps you to be accountable as well. But narrate it well, so that it is clear that it's a loan capital or a capital injection. Sometimes you also have extra money and you want to give the business money. Even though there's nothing, you just want to inflow money into the business. Narrate it as inflow from owner or capital, additional capital from owner. That helps you and makes it clear.
Thank you very
Oh, oh, I'm sorry. I just want to ask a very, very quick question. I'm very sorry. It's based on the time, that is the due date to file our tax. That is
Yeah.
March 31st. And this is where
Yes.
everything is getting confusing for an individual, because as an as an employer, is better to do it every month, isn't it? But as an individual, to file for your annual tax return is March 31st. That is the confusing part.
Okay,
Am I
so you
supposed to file for 2025?
is
Or
preceding year, taxes preceding year. So
so I'm
you
not
are
supposed to
fine,
do
everything you're
2025, it's
doing
till
now.
2027.
Say that again.
Okay, now. Am I supposed to file for, because if the due date is March 31st, am I supposed to file for this year, 2026 or 2025?
You're filing for 2025. So don't mix it up. Oh. Every month you must, as an employer that has people that
No,
work
as an
with
individual.
you, have people that work with you, right?
No.
Okay, but you pay yourself.
Yeah, I pay myself. I get paid
Before.
that like a freelance.
So every month you will file the personal income tax on the income you've paid yourself. Every month,
And so
the
from starting from when is
just
it
hold on,
January?
hold on, so you understand it, right? Um,
Okay.
the if you earn money in January, before
Okay.
the 10th of February, you must file your payee, right?
Okay.
So every month like that, you file next month, next month, next month, like that. You file it like that on a monthly basis. However, in addition to what you have done every month, you are also supposed to file a consolidated position, meaning what you did in January to December. You will file it together, and that one is due the 31st of the subsequent month. So that's the one that I said was due on 31st, maybe like yesterday, right?
Mhm.
If it's a non-work day, then you will have to file on the Friday. So a lot of organizations had to file on Friday, right? So that's the
Mhm.
consolidate. So the thing you've been doing monthly, the consolidated version, you file it on 31st. There is a filing that is called, that's like an annual return that an individual, you know what you did, those two that you were doing, they were in your capacity as the employer of yourself, right? Then you as the individual, you're supposed to file your taxes. Why do you do that extra? Because it is possible that you make money that is not from your 9 to 5. So Toby just asked the question. She does 9 to 5 and she has money that comes from other business. So she's supposed to add that other business to what has been filed for her by a company so that she has a consolidated filing. That is the one that is due on 31st. So there is the monthly obligation for the employer, there is the yearly obligation for the employer, then there's the yearly obligation for the employee. So I hope it's clear now.
Yeah, it's just that for there's just this gray area
What's the
of
gray?
the gray area because if somebody is working as a contract staff for a company now, and the person considered as an employee to that company, or is it considered as a business or a company? If you get what I'm saying.
So if depending on what you do for the company, sometimes they pay you professional fees, right?
Yes.
And not salaries. If the company is paying you professional fees for your services, depending on the kind of company you're working with, they can decide to withhold tax from you, right? If they withhold tax from you for that service you've rendered to them, then that means you have an upfront payment of taxation. At the time when you want to file your taxes, you present it that I did so and so for this person. Oh, they already is like an upfront payment of tax. So let's say
Okay.
at the end of the day, your tax is supposed to be 100,000 and they've already taken 50,000 from you. When you're filing, you say 100,000 is what I'm supposed to pay, oh, but 50,000 has been taken from me. Net, what I should now pay is 50. So
Okay.
you need to look at where you belong in the entire bracket and then act accordingly. So people that are contractors, they pay them professional fees. And on professional fees, you're not doing payee and all that. Depending on the organization you work for, they may have withheld the tax. But if they did not, then you come and bring that money into your business and run through everything you've been saying and then pay your own personal income tax. Do you
Got
get?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. I wish we could go on with our questions, but we can't. I think we are supposed to have a hard stop since 8 o'clock, but we have added 15 minutes. So I think it's fair already. So, like I said, hopefully, if we're able to get another free now, we can do a part 2 of this. Hopefully, or probably we'll talk to other people that Mrs. Adetutu can recommend to us that we can also bring. And maybe to just be purely Q&A section, everybody bring in their
Yeah.
questions, get them
Yeah.
answered. So, Smith, I would like to invite you to the floor to
Okay,
end
did you
the.
stop sharing you? Okay, all right.
Yeah, you can. Yes, and also this is recorded, so we're putting it in the group chats, and also like you heard, especially Lex, if especially if you're in a position where you run all your business through your personal account, but what we've learned today, you have to run it through a business account. So Optimus is here to help us with that. So let's use the group chat. Our point person is Oluwatosin. We'll let you know what the details are needed. I think myself as well, I'm going to be needing. All right, because I'm sure when I get to that point, there will be some consultation that I can ask other questions relevant to what I need basically. So I wouldn't like to push this too much forward. I like Smith to come in to close it up, and we can call it a day.
Okay, thank you very much once again for moderating. You did a very good job, and thank you very much, Adetutu, for having us, for giving us these clear paths. I'm sure most of us here had issues comprehending some of the things, and by now we know exactly what and where we should focus more on. If any other person have any questions going forward, maybe we'll just collate like IODG has said. So maybe sometimes whenever she's free again, we can have just a Q&A session. Tosin, I'm sure you're on the call, right?
Yes,
Tosin,
I
our
am.
account officer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I got this benefit or bonus coming from Optimus Bank that they will be available to open accounts for anybody that is wanting to have a very clear path. You know how to do all your filings and all of that. Optimus is available for us. We can open our account with Optimus, and Tosin will be here to guide us on that. Tosin, do you have anything to say to us before we call it a day? Hello, Tosin.
Buddy, thank you so much. Thank you, Ma Adetutu. Really appreciate. I think we said everything. Optimus is here to help. Maybe you can share my contact with anybody that would like to open an account and all, and we're sure that we'll be able to guide everybody through proper understanding and how to navigate through all of this. Thank you so much.
There we
All right.
have it.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.
Have a
Yeah.
blessed night.
You too.
Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
everybody, for joining the call. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I see you. Thank you, Inka.